Emotional control. How to stay calm when everything falls apart. Written and published by Echo Elevate. Introduction. When the world shakes, stay still. When everything around you begins to fall apart, what do you do? Do you panic? Do you freeze? Or do you find your calm in the chaos? That's the question this book will help you answer. Welcome to Emotional Control. How to stay calm when everything falls apart. This book is about mastering the one skill that changes everything. The ability to stay steady when life is not. We live in a world full of uncertainty. Plans fail, people disappoint us, circumstances shift without warning. But here's the truth. Peace doesn't come from a perfect life. It comes from a controlled mind. Emotional control is not about pretending to be fine. It's not about suppressing how you feel. It's about learning how to respond, not react. It's about choosing clarity over chaos, power over panic. This audiobook will guide you step by step through that process. You'll learn how to recognize emotions before they take control, how to pause before you speak or act, how to stay calm even when the situation feels impossible. You'll discover how awareness, perspective, and discipline can turn emotional storms into moments of strength. Each chapter is designed to help you build a new kind of resilience, one that doesn't depend on circumstances but on your state of mind. By the end of this journey, you'll understand that calm isn't weakness, it's mastery. You'll see that control doesn't mean being cold, it means being composed. And most of all, you'll realize that peace is not something you find, it's something you create. So take a breath, slow down. Let's begin the journey toward calm, the kind that doesn't break when the world does. Because true strength is staying centered when everything else falls apart. Chapter 1. The Storm Within. There are moments in life when it feels like everything outside is collapsing, but the real chaos begins inside. It's not the noise of the world that destroys our peace. It's the noise in our own minds. When things fall apart, our emotions rush in like a storm. Fear, anger, confusion, and sadness swirl together, clouding our judgment. It's like standing in the middle of heavy rain, trying to see the road ahead. You can't. Everything blurs. Every drop feels louder than your thoughts. That's what emotional chaos feels like. An inner storm that blinds clarity and weakens control. The nature of the inner storm. Every human being experiences emotional storms. It's part of being alive. The mind reacts before it reflects. When we face sudden problems, a financial setback, a betrayal, a failure, our emotional system triggers an alarm. It says, danger, something's wrong. That alarm is meant to protect us. But if we don't manage it, it starts to run our life. Think of a time when someone said something that hurt you. Maybe it was a harsh comment. Maybe it was rejection. Your heart raced. Your mind flooded with thoughts. In that moment you weren't controlling your emotions. They were controlling you. That is the storm within. Emotional control doesn't mean we stop feeling. It means we stop letting our feelings decide our future. The first step toward peace is understanding that your emotions are messengers, not masters. They are signals, not commands. The science of reaction. When something stressful happens, your brain activates the fight or flight response. It's the same system that kept ancient humans alive. The problem is, in the modern world, that system often fires even when there is no physical danger, just emotional discomfort. Someone ignores your message, and your brain interprets it as rejection. You lose a deal, and your body reacts as if it were a life or death threat. This automatic reaction floods your body with adrenaline and cortisol. Your breathing changes. Your focus narrows. Your mind starts racing toward worst-case scenarios. This is the storm, a physiological, mental and emotional surge that feels uncontrollable. But here's the truth. It can be managed. And management begins with awareness. Awareness. The eye of the storm. Every storm has an eye. A calm center that doesn't move with the wind. Inside you that center exists too. It's the part of you that observes without judgment. The part that can step back and say, I'm feeling angry right now, instead of becoming the anger itself. When you become aware of your emotions, you step into that center. You separate yourself from the reaction. Imagine being in a heated argument. Normally you'd speak faster, raise your voice and defend yourself. But if you take one breath and simply notice what's happening, your heart rate, your voice, your thoughts, you shift from being inside the storm to watching it. This moment of awareness is the foundation of emotional control. Without it, you're a leaf in the wind. With it, you're the captain of your ship. A story of the inner battle. There's a story of a young man who worked in a busy corporate office. Every day, his boss criticized him harshly. He felt angry and defeated. He took that anger home, replaying the words in his head until he couldn't sleep. One day, after another frustrating meeting, he decided to step outside instead of reacting. He walked to a nearby park, sat down, and said to himself, I'm angry. I feel disrespected. For the first time, he didn't fight the emotion or try to hide it. He just observed it. Slowly, his mind began to settle. The storm didn't vanish, but it weakened. Over time, he learned to pause before reacting, to breathe before speaking, and to think before acting. That simple act of observation changed his life. His story teaches an important truth. Emotional control doesn't begin when things are calm. It begins when things are not. The cost of losing control. Every time we lose control, we lose more than just our temper. We lose opportunities. We lose relationships. We lose trust. A single emotional outburst can undo years of effort. A few angry words can break connections that took a lifetime to build. When we react without control, we create storms not only within us, but around us. Think about social media. A few seconds of frustration can lead to a post we regret. A few moments of anger can cause damage that takes months to repair. The cost of emotional chaos is high, and most of us pay it unknowingly. That's why learning to master your emotions is not optional. It's essential, turning the storm into strength. Here's the good news. Every emotional storm you've ever faced can become a lesson. Each surge of anger, fear, or sadness can reveal something deeper about yourself. Anger shows where your boundaries are. Fear shows where your faith is weak. Sadness shows what you value most. When you stop running from emotions and start listening to them, they transform from enemies into teachers. You begin to realize that the storm is not here to destroy you. It's here to shape you. Emotional control grows through practice. You learn to take a breath before reacting. You learn to ask questions before making assumptions. You learn to see people's behavior as a reflection of their state, not your worth. And slowly, the storms that once shook you start to lose their power. Action steps: finding calm in chaos, pause before responding. The moment you feel emotion rising, take a deep breath. That single pause creates distance between the event and your reaction. Name the emotion. Say it out loud or in your mind. I'm angry. I'm scared. I'm disappointed. Naming your feeling reduces its intensity and helps your brain switch from reaction to reflection. Shift your focus. Instead of focusing on what happened, Focus on what you can control: your breathing, your tone, your next step. Reflect after the storm. When things settle, ask yourself, what triggered me? What can I learn from it? How can I respond better next time? These small habits, practiced consistently, build emotional resilience over time. Closing thoughts. The storm within is not a curse. It's a call to grow. You can't control what happens outside, but you can always control how you respond inside. That's where real power lives. Emotional control is not the absence of emotion. It's the mastery of emotion. It's choosing calm when chaos calls your name. It's finding peace, not because life is easy, but because you've trained your mind to stay steady. Every storm, no matter how strong, eventually passes, but the strength you build by staying calm, that stays with you forever. In the next chapter we'll explore how to see emotions before they take control, the art of awareness that anchors you in the center of every storm. Chapter 2. Awareness. Seeing the emotion before it controls you. Awareness is the first step toward mastery. You can't control what you can't see, and yet most people move through life reacting, not realizing that their emotions are quietly pulling the strings behind every decision, every word, and every reaction. To stay calm when everything around you falls apart, you must first learn to see what's happening inside you. Awareness is that light in the dark room. It reveals what's really going on beneath the surface. The tension in your chest, the thoughts racing through your mind, the stories you tell yourself about what just happened. When awareness enters, control begins. The invisible force behind every reaction. Every emotion begins with a thought, sometimes loud, sometimes whispering. Something happens, and your mind gives it meaning. That meaning shapes your feeling. Then your feeling shapes your behavior. Let's take an example. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Instantly your body tightens. You feel anger rise. The thought might be, they disrespected me. But look closer. It wasn't the action that triggered your anger. It was your interpretation of that action. That's the power of awareness. It helps you step back and see the sequence before it controls you. Event, thought, emotion, reaction. Without awareness, we live from the last step, pure reaction. With awareness, we can interrupt the chain, breathe, and choose a different response. The moment before the emotion. Most people think emotions come without warning, but they don't. They build quietly before exploding. The signs are always there. If we pay attention, a quickened heartbeat, clenched fists, shallow breathing, or that uneasy feeling in your stomach, those signals are your early warnings. The emotional dashboard of your life. Awareness means checking that dashboard before the engine overheats. For instance, imagine you're in a meeting and someone criticizes your idea. Your face feels warm. You sense tension in your shoulders. You want to argue. If you're unaware, you react instantly. But if you notice what's happening, the heat, the thoughts, the urge to respond, you create space. That space is power. It's the moment where you can decide, do I want to react, or do I want to respond? The power of naming the feeling. One of the simplest but most powerful awareness tools is naming the emotion. When you say, I feel angry, you are no longer lost in the feeling. You are observing it. The moment you name it, you separate yourself from it. You become the witness, not the emotion itself. A simple phrase like, I'm feeling frustrated, is like turning on a light in the room. Suddenly, the shadows of confusion and tension lose their strength. Studies in psychology confirm this. Labeling emotions activates the logical parts of the brain and calms the reactive ones. In simple terms, naming the feeling brings you back to yourself. So the next time your emotions start to rise, pause and name what you feel. You'll notice it doesn't control you as strongly as before. Story: the manager who found his calm. There was once a manager who was known for his short temper. When things went wrong at work, he would shout and blame his team. One day, after a stressful meeting, a colleague quietly said, "You're not angry at us. You're overwhelmed." That simple sentence stopped him. It made him aware. He realized that his anger was just the outer layer. Underneath it was fear. Fear of failure. Fear of losing control. Fear of being seen as weak. From that day he began to notice his emotions before they took over. When he felt the storm coming, he paused, took a breath, and asked himself, "What's really going on inside me?" He didn't become emotionless. He became aware, and that awareness turned him into a calmer, wiser leader. The lesson is clear. Awareness turns reaction into reflection, and reflection turns emotion into understanding. Awareness in daily life. Awareness isn't something you practice only in moments of crisis. It's a daily discipline, a habit of checking in with yourself. Here are a few ways to build that awareness. Morning scan. When you wake up, ask yourself, "How do I feel right now?" Notice without judging. Maybe you're calm, maybe you're anxious. The goal is not to fix the feeling but to recognize it. Pause points. Set small reminders throughout your day. Before you open an email, start a conversation, or step into a meeting, to take one conscious breath and notice your emotional state. Evening reflection. Before bed, look back at your day. When did you feel most triggered? What did you notice about your reactions? What could you do differently next time? These simple moments of awareness build emotional muscle. Over time, you'll start catching emotions earlier, before they become reactions. The voice in your head. Awareness also means paying attention to your inner dialogue, the quiet narrator that comments on everything. Sometimes it whispers kindness, other times it shouts criticism. If you want emotional control, you must learn to listen to that voice, not to obey it, but to understand it. Ask yourself, who is speaking? Is it fear? Is it insecurity? Or is it truth? Often the mind tells stories that are not real. They don't respect me. I always fail. No one cares. Awareness allows you to pause and question those thoughts before they shape your emotions. Remember this: you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker who can observe them. Awareness brings choice. When awareness grows, choice returns. You can choose to respond calmly instead of reacting emotionally. You can choose patience over anger. You can choose understanding over judgment. Emotional control is not about denying emotions. It's about directing them. And awareness gives you the steering wheel. Think of awareness as the light that guides your ship through the fog. Without it, you drift wherever the current takes you. With it, you navigate with intention and direction. Action steps: practicing awareness. Catch the first signal. Notice the first signs of rising emotion, tension, heat, or restlessness. The earlier you see it, the easier it is to manage. Label. Don't judge. When you feel something, name it. Say, "I feel anxious," or "I feel disappointed." Avoid judging yourself for it. Ask what it's teaching you. Every emotion has a message. Anger might be showing you a boundary. Fear might be revealing uncertainty. Listen for the lesson. Practice presence. Use your senses. Notice what you see, hear, and feel right now. This grounds you in the present, where emotions lose their grip. Closing thoughts. Awareness is the foundation of calm. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. It doesn't shout or demand attention. It simply watches, listens, and understands. The more aware you become, the more peaceful your inner world feels, even when the outer world stays chaotic. Because awareness doesn't remove the storm, it helps you see the storm clearly. And once you see it, it no longer controls you. In the next chapter we'll explore how to strengthen that calm through the pause, the powerful space between stimulus and response where control truly begins. Chapter 3. The pause. Mastering the moment, between stimulus and response. Between what happens to you and how you respond to it, there is a space, a small invisible pause. That space may only last a second, but it's in that second that your entire future can change. In that moment, you decide whether to react or to respond, whether to speak words that build or words that destroy, whether to act with control or lose yourself to emotion. This chapter is about that moment. The pause. It is the bridge between impulse and intelligence, between chaos and clarity, between pain and peace. The power hidden in a second. Most people think emotional control takes hours of meditation or years of training. But in truth, it often begins with 1 second. The second you choose not to react. Think of a time when someone said something hurtful. You felt the heat rise in your chest. The instinct to defend yourself appeared instantly. But imagine if, just for a heartbeat, you had paused, taken 1 breath before responding. That single pause could have changed everything. The tone, the words, the outcome, and even the relationship. The pause doesn't erase emotion, it gives emotion direction. It's not about suppressing what you feel, but about giving your mind the time to catch up with your heart. The science of the pause. When we face stress, the brain's emotional center, the amygdala, fires rapidly. It reacts before the thinking part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, has time to step in. That's why we say things we regret or make choices we later question. The pause allows the logical brain to re-engage. It's the moment that says, wait, let's think. Just a few seconds of intentional breathing can lower your heart rate, calm your nervous system, and bring your awareness back. It's a biological reset button, hidden in every breath. When you pause, you move from automatic reaction to conscious decision. You stop being a prisoner of emotion, and become the architect of your response. Story. The teacher who waited 3 seconds. There's a story of a high school teacher who was known for her calmness. Students would often test her patience, loud jokes, missed homework or careless mistakes. Yet she never raised her voice. When asked how she stayed so calm, she said, "I count to 3 before I respond." She explained that in those 3 seconds she noticed her emotions, took a slow breath, and reminded herself of her goal, to teach, not to punish. That small pause kept her anchored. It allowed her to choose understanding over anger. Her students respected her deeply, not because she never got upset, but because she never let her emotions run the classroom. That's the power of the pause, small in time, massive in effect. How the pause changes your life. The pause is not just about handling arguments or stress. It reshapes how you experience life. When you pause, you listen better. You speak with intention. You make decisions with clarity. You give others the gift of your calm presence. Think about conversations that went wrong. Often, it wasn't what was said, but how quickly it was said. The pause slows the tempo of life, allowing wisdom to catch up with emotion. In the pause, you start seeing options you didn't see before, a kinder word, a smarter move, a better outcome. Practicing the pause. Like any skill, mastering the pause requires practice, but the more you train it, the more natural it becomes. Here are a few ways to strengthen your ability to pause. Start with the breath. When tension rises, take 1 slow, deep breath in through your nose, and exhale through your mouth. Feel the air move through you. This single act signals your body that you are safe, shifting you from reaction to control. Notice your triggers. Pay attention to what situations make you react quickly: criticism, delays, disrespect or uncertainty. Awareness of your triggers prepares you to pause before they take over. Count before you respond. Try counting silently. 1, 2, 3, before replying in emotionally charged moments. These few seconds give your thoughts time to align with your intentions. Anchor with a phrase. Some people use short mental phrases to ground themselves during the pause. Stay calm. I'm choosing peace. Think first. Find one that works for you. Practice in small moments. Don't wait for a crisis to practice. Start with minor frustrations: a slow internet connection, a traffic jam, a spilled drink. These are perfect opportunities to train the pause muscle. The goal is not to eliminate emotion. The goal is to make emotion work with you, not against you. The art of silence. The pause is not just about stopping words. It's also about creating space for silence. Silence is powerful because it gives meaning to sound, reflection to thought, and peace to action. When you pause before responding, you give others a chance to calm down too. Your silence communicates confidence and control. It tells the world that you are steady, not shaken. In leadership, in relationships, and in moments of conflict, silence is often the most powerful thing you can say. Real-world application. The 5-second window. Neuroscientists describe something called the 5-second window. When you experience an emotional trigger, you have about 5 seconds before the emotion becomes a reaction. In that window lies your choice. You can feed the emotion with angry thoughts, defensive words or impulsive actions, or you can breathe, pause, and redirect it. The more you practice catching yourself in that 5-second window, the stronger your emotional control becomes. Over time, the pause stops feeling forced. It becomes who you are: calm, thoughtful, steady. A reflection exercise. Tonight, when the day ends, reflect for a moment. Ask yourself, when did I react too quickly today? When did I take a pause? What difference did it make? This simple reflection builds awareness, and awareness deepens control. You might notice that your best moments, the ones you handled wisely, were the ones where you gave yourself time. Time to think, time to breathe, time to choose peace. Closing thoughts. In the end, emotional control is not about suppressing emotions or becoming detached from life. It's about owning the space between what happens and what you do next. That space, that pause, is where wisdom lives. It's where patience grows. It's where character is shaped. So, the next time the world pushes you to react, stop for a moment. Take a breath. Let the pause protect your peace. Because in that pause you are not losing time, you are gaining power. And in that power, you will find calm, even when everything else falls apart. Chapter 4. Perspective. The art of stepping back. Sometimes, peace isn't about fixing what's wrong. It's about seeing it differently. Perspective is the quiet superpower that transforms how we experience life. When everything feels out of control, when emotions are high and the noise around you grows too loud, the wisest thing you can do is step back. Perspective doesn't mean ignoring your problems. It means looking at them from a higher place, where clarity replaces confusion, and patience replaces panic. In this chapter, we'll explore how the art of stepping back helps you calm the mind, reshape your emotions, and make wiser choices, even in chaos. The lens you look through. Imagine two people standing in the same storm. One sees only destruction, the other sees renewal. rain that will water the soil for new growth. The difference isn't the storm. The difference is perspective. Life doesn't just happen to us. It happens through the lens we choose to see it. That lens determines whether we grow bitter or better, whether we see obstacles or opportunities. When you're too close to a problem, your emotions take over. The pain, frustration, or fear becomes all you can see. But when you step back, even for a moment, you begin to notice the bigger picture. You see causes, patterns, lessons and choices that were invisible before. Perspective doesn't remove difficulty. It restores balance. It allows you to say, this may be hard, but it's not the end. A story. The architect's mistake. There's an old story about a young architect who spent months designing a grand building. When the construction began, he realized that one corner of the foundation had been misaligned. Furious, he blamed the builders and demanded they start over. The cost would be huge. An older architect walked by, examined the situation and said, "Step back 10 feet. The young man did. From that distance he noticed something he hadn't seen before. The floor wasn't visible from the street. It could be adjusted, not destroyed. The problem wasn't as big as it seemed up close. The older man smiled and said, "Sometimes the answer isn't to rebuild, it's to step back." That story reflects life perfectly. When you step back, you gain emotional distance. You stop reacting to what's immediate and start responding to what's important. The emotional trap of close-up thinking. When you're emotionally entangled in a situation, everything feels magnified. A disagreement feels like rejection. A delay feels like failure. A bad day feels like a bad life. This happens because emotions narrow your vision. The mind zooms in on what hurts, what frustrates or what scares you, and blocks out everything else. Perspective is the antidote. It widens your frame. It reminds you that this moment, no matter how intense, is temporary. It invites you to see beyond the feeling. When you ask yourself, how will this look a week from now, a year from now, you immediately loosen the emotional grip. Suddenly the issue shrinks, the urgency fades, and calm returns. Changing the frame changes the feeling. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. You're late. Your heart rate increases. You start blaming the drivers ahead. But then you remember, maybe this is life's way of slowing you down. Maybe it's giving you a moment to think, to breathe, to reset before the next part of your day. Nothing about the situation changed. The traffic didn't disappear, but you changed. That's the power of reframing, choosing a different meaning for the same event. Here are a few powerful reframes to practice. Instead of "Why is this happening to me?" ask "What is this trying to teach me?" Instead of "This is unfair," try "This is preparing me for something greater." Instead of "I failed," think "I learned something valuable." Reframing doesn't deny the problem. It redefines its purpose. The eagle's view. When an eagle flies high above the valley, it doesn't get lost in the trees. It sees the whole forest. It sees the rivers, the cliffs, and the way forward. Perspective is like that. When you rise above your emotions, you can see connections that weren't visible before. How one setback prepared you for another opportunity. How one rejection redirected you to something better. The key is to train yourself to take that higher view, especially when life feels heavy. Ask yourself, what am I missing because I'm too close? What would this look like if I zoomed out? What would I tell a friend if they were in my place? These questions pull you out of emotional tunnel vision and into emotional wisdom. When stepping back feels impossible, there are times when pain is too deep to analyze, when emotions feel too strong to think clearly. In those moments, stepping back can feel impossible. That's when awareness, the skill we discussed earlier, becomes your anchor. You may not be able to change how you feel right away, but you can observe the feeling. You can say, "I'm angry right now," or "I'm hurt," and that's okay. Observation creates space. Space leads to calm, and calm gives birth to perspective. So don't rush to fix your feelings. Step back, breathe and allow them to pass through. You'll see things differently once the emotional storm settles. A real-world example: the missed opportunity. A woman applied for her dream job, one she believed was her big break. Weeks later, she got a rejection email. She was devastated. For days, she questioned her worth and her future. Months later, she accepted a different role, one that matched her passions perfectly, and led her to start her own business. Looking back, she said, that rejection was redirection. At the time, she couldn't see it. Her perspective was clouded by disappointment. But as time passed, clarity revealed what emotion had hidden, that life was never against her. It was guiding her. Perspective often needs time, distance and stillness to appear. Building the habit of stepping back. Here are a few practical ways to strengthen your ability to step back in daily life. Create mental distance. When emotions rise, imagine zooming out like a camera. See yourself and the situation from above. Notice how small this moment looks from a wider angle. Ask bigger questions. Instead of asking, "Why now?" or "Why me?" ask, "What's the lesson? What's the long-term picture?" Bigger questions lead to bigger understanding. Use time as a teacher. When overwhelmed, give yourself time before reacting. Sleep on it. Many problems look smaller in the morning. Keep a perspective journal. At the end of each week, write one sentence starting with, "At first I thought," and end with, "But now I see." This trains your mind to recognize growth through reflection. The freedom perspective brings. When you master perspective, life stops feeling like it's happening to you and starts feeling like it's happening for you. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become a student of experience. Perspective frees you from emotional slavery. It gives you room to breathe, to learn, and to grow. It doesn't promise an easy life. It promises a stronger you. So the next time you find yourself trapped in emotion, remember this simple truth. You don't need to see less. You just need to see further. Closing thoughts. Perspective is the art of mental distance. The wisdom of stepping back before you step forward. It reminds you that storms look smaller from above, and that pain looks different through the lens of growth. You can't always control the situation, but you can always control the angle from which you view it. When you change your perspective, you change your peace, and in that calm, the world no longer feels like it's falling apart. It feels like it's falling into place. Chapter 5. The Power of Breathing and Presence. When life feels overwhelming, when emotions rise like waves ready to crash, there's one thing that can bring you back to calm: your breath. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but your breath is the anchor between your mind and your body. It's the bridge between chaos and control. When everything around you feels like it's spinning, your breath reminds you that peace is still within reach. Breathing is not just a physical act. It's emotional medicine. It grounds your thoughts, slows your pulse, and centers your attention in the only place that truly exists: the present moment. In this chapter, we'll explore how breathing and presence work together to restore calm, sharpen focus, and strengthen emotional control. The link between breath and emotion. Every emotion you feel is mirrored by your breath. When you're angry, your breathing is sharp. When you're anxious, it's shallow. When you're sad, it's heavy and slow. And when you're calm, it's steady and deep. This means that by changing your breath, you can change your emotional state. Your body and mind are in constant communication. The breath is their language. So when you take control of your breathing, you're not just calming your lungs. You're sending a signal to your brain that says, I am safe. That single message changes everything. It lowers stress hormones. It clears your thoughts. It helps you pause before reacting. This is why awareness of breath is the foundation of emotional control. The power of the present moment. Emotions pull you into the past, or push you into the future. You replay mistakes, regret choices, or fear what's next. But peace lives only in one place, the present moment. When you bring your attention to your breath, you bring yourself back to now. You can't breathe yesterday's air. You can't breathe tomorrow's either. You can only breathe this one. That's the secret of presence. It pulls you out of mental noise and brings you home to the here and now, where your power lives. A story. The athlete who forgot to breathe. There's a story of a professional athlete who struggled under pressure. He was talented and well-trained, but during big games he froze. His coach noticed that during these moments, his breathing stopped. The coach said, "You lose control because you stop breathing. You're holding your tension instead of releasing it." They began a simple routine. Before every play, the athlete took one slow, full breath. Over time, his performance transformed. His movements became fluid. His decisions became sharper. He wasn't just physically present, he was mentally calm. That's what breathing does. It quiets the noise in your mind so you can act with clarity instead of panic. The science of stillness. Modern science confirms what ancient wisdom has known for centuries. Breathing changes the body. Deep, rhythmic breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's natural rest and restore mode. It slows the heart rate, lowers blood pressure, and relaxes muscles. When stress strikes, your sympathetic system triggers fight or flight. But conscious breathing tells your body there's no real danger. It resets your system to calm. That's why just a few mindful breaths can stop a spiral of anxiety, anger, or fear. The storm outside might not change, but the storm inside begins to settle. Practical techniques for calm. Here are 3 simple science-backed breathing methods you can use anytime your emotions start to rise. The 4-4-4 technique. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds. This technique restores balance and centers your focus quickly. Deep belly breathing. Place your hand on your stomach. Breathe deeply into your belly instead of your chest. Feel your hand rise and fall. This signals relaxation to the nervous system and reduces emotional tension. The sigh of release. Take a deep breath in through your nose, then exhale with an audible sigh. This physically releases built-up energy and stress. Repeat 2 or 3 times to reset your mood. These techniques may sound simple, but they work because they return control to you, not to your circumstances, but to your state of mind. Presence beyond breathing. Breath is the entry point, but presence goes deeper. It means being fully aware of where you are, what you're doing, and what you're feeling, without judgment. When you're present, your thoughts stop racing. You stop living in the past or the future. You stop overthinking what someone said, or what might happen next. You start being instead of doing. Presence is powerful because it brings clarity. You see the truth of the moment instead of your interpretation of it. You stop feeding emotional reactions with stories. When you focus on your breath, your body, or the sounds around you, your awareness expands, And in that expansion, emotion loses its grip. The practice of grounding. Grounding is a simple way to stay connected to the present. It's the act of using your senses to return to reality. When your mind begins to drift into worry or tension, here's how to practice it. Look around and name 5 things you can see. Identify 4 things you can touch. Notice 3 things you can hear. Acknowledge 2 things you can smell. Focus on 1 slow, deep breath. In less than a minute, this brings your awareness out of your head and back into the real world. It stops overthinking and resets emotional balance. The gift of slowing down. In a world obsessed with speed, slowing down feels unnatural, but it's in slowing down that you regain control. When you slow your breathing, you slow your thoughts. When you slow your thoughts, you begin to see. You see what truly matters, what's just noise, and what you've been missing. This stillness is not laziness, it's power. It's the strength of restraint, the wisdom of patience, and the quiet confidence of calm. When others rush to react, you remain steady. That's presence. A reflection moment. Take a moment now, right where you are, to experience this. Close your eyes if you can. Take a slow breath in. Feel your lungs fill. Hold for a moment, then exhale gently. As you breathe out, imagine letting go of every thought, every tension, every worry. Feel how the body softens. Notice the space between thoughts. That space is peace. It was always there. You just needed to breathe to find it again. The daily practice here are small ways to integrate breathing and presence into your day. Start your morning with stillness. Before checking your phone or rushing to tasks, take 3 deep breaths and set an intention for calm. Pause during transitions, between calls, meetings, or errands. Take 1 conscious breath. Reset before you move to the next thing. Use breath as a response tool. Whenever emotion rises, frustration, anger, stress, make breathing your first action, not your last. End your day with gratitude. As you breathe before sleep, recall 1 thing you're thankful for. Gratitude magnifies peace. Presence is not something you find once, it's something you practice daily. Closing thoughts. Breathing and presence are not abstract ideas. They're practical tools. Simple, quiet, and available to you anytime. When you control your breath, you control your focus. When you master your presence, you master your emotions. The world will continue to change. People will still test your patience. Life will still bring challenges. But when you're rooted in breath and anchored in presence, you won't be easily moved. You'll find yourself calm in the chaos, still in the storm, fully here, fully aware, fully alive. And that is the essence of emotional control. Not escaping life, but breathing through it with grace and strength. Chapter 6. Detachment. Letting go without giving up. There comes a time in every journey when holding on becomes heavier than letting go. We cling to outcomes, people, and expectations, believing control will give us peace. But often, it's the very act of clinging that creates chaos inside us. Detachment is not about giving up. It's not about becoming cold, emotionless, or careless. It's about releasing the illusion of control, learning to let things be what they are, while you stay calm, grounded, and focused on what you can truly influence yourself. In this chapter, we'll explore the art of letting go without losing heart, how to care deeply without being consumed, and how to walk through life lightly, yet with purpose. The weight of attachment. Every emotional storm begins with attachment. We attach our happiness to how others behave. We attach our peace to how life unfolds. We attach our self-worth to results, approval, and success. Then, when things don't go as planned, we suffer. Attachment whispers, if this changes, I'll be happy. If this person stays, I'll be fine. If this plan works, I'll have peace. But life doesn't always follow our plans. People change. Circumstances shift. The more tightly we grip, the more pain we create when things move beyond our control. The truth is simple but profound. Peace doesn't come from control. Peace comes from clarity. The clarity to know what belongs to you and what doesn't. What detachment really means. Detachment isn't indifference. It's emotional maturity. It means you care deeply, but you don't collapse when things go wrong. You stay involved, but not imprisoned by outcomes. To be detached is to remain centered in your purpose, even when results don't arrive on your schedule. It's the calm confidence that says, I've done my best, now I'll let life do the rest. Detachment frees you from emotional extremes. It allows you to feel joy without fear of loss, and to experience pain without letting it define you. It's balance, the quiet middle path between obsession and apathy. A story, the artist and the canvas. An artist once worked for months on a painting he believed would be his masterpiece. Every brushstroke mattered. Every detail had to be perfect. But the more he obsessed, the more frustrated he became. One night, in anger, he almost tore the canvas apart. But then he stopped. He stepped back, and he said to himself, I can't control how this painting turns out, but I can control how I show up to the work. The next morning, he began again. Slower, freer, more present. He painted not for perfection, but for expression. And when he finished, he realized something profound. The art had become beautiful, not because he forced it, but because he released it. That's the essence of detachment. Excellence without obsession. Effort without desperation. The illusion of control. We often believe control equals safety. If I plan enough, nothing will go wrong. If I work hard enough, I can guarantee success. But life doesn't make promises like that. Control is an illusion, and a fragile one. The more we chase it, the more we suffer when it breaks. Think of the last time something didn't go your way. A job that slipped away. A relationship that ended. A goal that fell short. You might have done everything right, yet the outcome still changed. Detachment invites you to see that your power lies not in control but in response. You can't control the waves, but you can learn to surf them with grace. The freedom of letting go. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying what was never yours to hold. You can love someone and still let them walk their path. You can pursue a dream and still accept delay. You can give your best effort and still release the need for constant certainty. When you let go, you make space for peace, for perspective, for possibilities you couldn't see before. Holding on too tightly blocks growth. But when you release control, new directions appear. Sometimes what we lose is not punishment. It's preparation. Signs you're attached to the wrong things. To develop healthy detachment, you must first see where attachment has taken hold. Here are a few subtle signs. Your mood depends on others' behavior. When someone's approval or rejection decides your peace, you're attached. You replay the past constantly. The mind replays what the heart refuses to release. You fear uncertainty. You feel anxious when plans don't go perfectly, or outcomes remain unknown. You confuse control with love. You believe you must manage others to care for them. Detachment begins when you recognize these patterns, not to judge yourself, but to free yourself. Detachment and discipline. Ironically, detachment doesn't make you passive. It makes you powerful. When you're not ruled by emotion, you make better choices. You act from clarity, not desperation. A detached person still gives their best. They still set goals, work hard, and love deeply, but they do so with an open hand, not a clenched fist. Detachment pairs beautifully with discipline. You stay committed to the process, but you don't force the result. You sow the seed, but you trust the soil. As the saying goes, do your work, then step back. The only path to serenity. The practice of letting go. Letting go is not an event. It's a practice. Something you do every day in small ways. Here are a few exercises to strengthen it. Breathe and release. When you feel tension building, take a slow breath in, and as you exhale, imagine releasing your grip on the worry, the person, the situation. Journal about what's weighing on you. Then on a separate page write, "This no longer controls me." Read it aloud, and let your body feel the release. Ask the key question. Whenever you're stressed, ask yourself, is this within my control? If it is, act. If it isn't, let it go. Practice non-attachment conversations. The next time you disagree with someone, listen without trying to win. Respond. Don't react. Detachment in dialogue builds inner strength. These small acts, repeated often, create emotional freedom. A reflection on love and detachment. Detachment in relationships often confuses people. They think love means attachment, constant worry, control, or dependence. But true love breathes. It gives space. To love someone with detachment means you want the best for them, even if that best doesn't include you. You support their growth without needing to own it. You stay kind, even when things change. Love without attachment is stronger, because it's not based on fear, it's based on freedom. Closing thoughts. Detachment is the quiet strength to walk away from what no longer serves you, without resentment, without anger, and without losing faith in what comes next. It's understanding that peace isn't found in holding tighter. It's found in loosening your grip. When you let go, you're not losing control, you're gaining peace. You're saying, I trust myself. I trust life. I trust that what's meant for me will find me. So breathe deeply, step back, release what you cannot control, and remember, letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means rising above, free, light, and unshaken. Chapter 7. The Discipline of Thought. Every emotion begins with a thought. Before the anger, before the fear, before the doubt, there is always a single thought that sparks the feeling. That's why the battle for emotional control is first won in the mind. The way you think determines the way you feel. The way you feel determines the way you act. And the way you act determines the life you create. If your thoughts are scattered, your emotions will be unstable. If your thoughts are disciplined, your emotions will follow with calm. In this chapter, we'll explore how to train your thoughts, to guide them, not be guided by them, to shape them, not be shaped by them, because mastery of the mind is mastery of life. The mind is a garden. Imagine your mind is a garden. Every thought is a seed. Some seeds grow flowers, peace, gratitude, strength. Others grow weeds, worry, anger, regret. The garden will grow something either way. The question is, what are you planting? Most people never stop to notice their thoughts. They let negativity plant itself freely, then wonder why their life feels heavy. but you have the power to choose what grows. Discipline of thought begins with awareness, noticing what you think, and deciding whether that thought deserves to stay. You can't stop negative thoughts from showing up, but you can stop feeding them. And once you stop feeding them, they lose their power. The law of focus. Your mind moves toward what it focuses on. If you constantly focus on what's missing, life feels empty. If you focus on what's possible, life opens up. This isn't just motivation, it's biology. The brain's reticular activating system filters reality based on what you pay attention to. If you focus on fear, it finds more things to fear. If you focus on gratitude, it finds more things to appreciate. So discipline begins with focus. Ask yourself throughout the day, where is my attention right now? Is it building me or breaking me? Whatever you dwell on grows stronger. Story: The Two Wolves. An old Cherokee story captures this truth perfectly. A grandfather told his grandson, "Inside every person there are two wolves. One is anger, envy, greed, and fear. The other is peace, kindness, courage, and love." The boy asked, "Which wolf wins?" So grandfather replied, "The one you feed." Every day your thoughts feed one of those wolves. Every complaint, every worry, every judgment strengthens the negative one. Every word of gratitude, every act of understanding, every hopeful vision strengthens the positive one. The discipline of thought is the daily practice of choosing which wolf to feed. Thought discipline is not suppression. Some people mistake thought discipline for denial, pretending everything is fine, ignoring problems or forcing only positive vibes. That's not discipline. That's avoidance. Real thought discipline is about balance and truth. It's about seeing what's real, but choosing to respond with wisdom instead of worry. When a negative thought appears, don't fight it. Observe it. Ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is it true? Is it necessary? If the answer is no, let it pass like a cloud across the sky. You don't need to chase it or engage with it. This is not suppression, it's selection. You're choosing which thoughts deserve your energy. The practice of replacing. The human mind hates a vacuum. You can't simply stop thinking something. You have to replace it. When fear says, "I can't handle this," replace it with, "I've handled worse before." When doubt says, "I'm not ready," replace it with, "I'm still learning, and that's okay." When anger says, "They disrespected me," replace it with, "Their behavior reflects them, not me." Each replacement thought weakens the old emotional pattern. Over time, this rewires your mind toward peace and strength. This is mental training, small repetitions that build inner muscle. The danger of untrained thinking. An undisciplined mind reacts to everything. Like an open door in a storm, every worry blows in, every insult lingers, every fear echoes. But a disciplined mind knows when to close the door. It guards its focus. It decides what enters and what stays. Imagine your thoughts as guests at a party. Not every guest deserves your attention. Some arrive uninvited. Fear, jealousy, self-doubt. You can acknowledge them without serving them dinner. Discipline doesn't mean you never have negative thoughts. It means you never let them lead the conversation. Mental filters. What to keep, what to release. Here's a simple mental filter to train your thinking. Is it true? Don't believe every thought that enters your mind. Most thoughts are interpretations, not facts. Is it helpful? Does this thought move me forward, or hold me back? Is it kind? Thoughts about others, and about yourself, shape emotional energy. Choose kindness. If a thought fails these tests, let it go. It doesn't deserve your attention. The power of mental reset. Even the most disciplined minds drift. The key is not perfection, it's correction. When you notice your thoughts spiraling, simply say to yourself, reset, then breathe, refocus, and return to the present moment. It's like steering a car. Small corrections keep you on the road. You don't panic when the car drifts slightly. You adjust. The same goes for your mind. One mindful correction can save you from hours of emotional turmoil. A real-world example. The leader who reframed stress. A business leader once shared his secret for staying calm under pressure. He said, "I don't see problems as problems anymore. I see them as puzzles. Every puzzle has a solution. It just takes focus." By changing the thought from problem to puzzle, he shifted his entire emotional state. Stress became curiosity. Pressure became purpose. That's the power of disciplined thinking. Changing the story changes the feeling. Daily practices for mental discipline. To train your thoughts. Consistency matters more than intensity. Here are daily habits that strengthen mental discipline. Morning direction. Start your day with a clear intention. One simple sentence like, "Today I choose calm," sets the tone for your thoughts. Mental diet. Be mindful of what you consume. The news, conversations, and content you feed your mind. What you watch and read shapes what you think. Thought journaling. Write down recurring negative thoughts and challenge them. Ask, is this always true? Or what's another way to see this? Mindful breathing. Each time you catch your mind wandering, take one deep breath. It brings you back to awareness. Evening reflection. Before bed, reflect on one thought that served you well and one that didn't. This helps you refine your thinking pattern. Over time, these habits become automatic, and your thoughts begin to serve you instead of sabotage you. The strength behind stillness. A disciplined mind is a quiet mind. It doesn't mean empty. It means clear. It's the difference between a turbulent sea and a still lake. Both contain the same water, but one reflects light perfectly because it's calm. When your thoughts are disciplined, your emotions stabilize, your confidence grows, and your focus sharpens. You start responding to life instead of reacting to it. You begin to think on purpose, not by accident. That's when peace becomes not just a feeling, but a state of being. Closing thoughts. Discipline of thought is not about control for its own sake. It's about freedom. The freedom to choose your mindset. The freedom to rise above negativity. The freedom to direct your emotions toward purpose, not chaos. When you master your thoughts, you master your world. So the next time your mind begins to wander into worry or doubt, pause and ask yourself, who's in charge right now? Then take a breath, refocus, and lead your thoughts back home to peace. Because a calm mind isn't found, it's trained. And the discipline of thought is how you train it. Chapter 8. Respond. Don't react. There's a moment in every challenge that defines the outcome. The moment right after something happens. Someone criticizes you. A plan fails. A surprise hits you out of nowhere. That tiny space between what happens and what you do next is where emotional control lives. Reacting is instant. It's emotional. It's impulsive. Responding is intentional. It's calm. It's wise. This chapter is about learning to live in that space, to rise above automatic reactions and replace them with thoughtful, powerful responses that align with who you truly are. Reaction versus response. Let's begin with the difference. A reaction is emotional reflex. It's fast and often unconscious. Someone offends you, and before you know it, Your tone sharpens or your heart races. You speak words you didn't plan. You send that message you later regret. A response, however, comes from awareness. It's deliberate. It's measured. It considers both emotion and logic. The difference is not time. It's consciousness. Reacting is driven by emotion. Responding is guided by intention. When you learn to respond instead of react, you stop giving power to your triggers and start owning your choices. The emotional reflex. The human brain is wired for survival. When something feels threatening, physically or emotionally, it activates the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for fight, flight, or freeze. That's why a harsh comment can feel like an attack. Your brain treats emotional threats as physical ones. The problem is, this ancient mechanism doesn't fit modern life. You can't punch your way through an argument or run away from an email. You have to manage your emotions in place. And that's where responding becomes an art. A learned skill that transforms chaos into control. Story: The Monk and the Angry Man. A monk once sat by a river, meditating. A man approached him shouting insults and anger. The monk listened quietly, then smiled. The angry man grew even louder, and finally said, "Why aren't you saying anything? Don't you hear me?" The monk replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man stood silent. The monk continued, "Then the anger you bring stays with you, not with me." That's the power of response. The monk didn't deny the emotion. He simply chose not to absorb it. When you respond, you become the calm in the storm, not part of the storm. The cost of reacting. Reactions feel satisfying in the moment. They release emotion, they give a sense of power. But afterward, regret often follows. Think of the times you've spoken too soon, texted too fast, or decided too quickly. What felt like strength in the moment often turned into damage later. Reactions create tension, conflict, and misunderstanding. Responses create clarity, trust, and respect. Every impulsive reaction drains your emotional energy, while every thoughtful response strengthens your emotional discipline. The pause in practice. Responding doesn't mean you suppress emotion. It means you pause long enough to direct it. When something triggers you, your goal is to buy time, even just a few seconds, for your rational mind to catch up. Here's a simple 3-step process to practice in real time. When emotion rises, stop before acting. Take one deep breath. Let the moment pass through you before you decide what to do. Process. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Why does this bother me? Understanding the emotion gives it less control. Proceed. Once you're calm, choose the response that reflects your values, not your feelings. Speak or act from intention, not impulse. This 3-step flow can transform heated moments into moments of mastery. Emotional mirrors. When you react, you mirror others' energy. If someone is angry, you become angry. If they are rude, you become defensive. In doing so, you give them control over your emotions. Responding, however, means you choose your reflection. You decide to remain steady, even when others are not. A calm response disarms aggression. Silence dissolves conflict. Composure earns respect. When you stay calm, you lead the energy in the room. People feel it. They match it. That's real power. Not domination, but direction. Real-world example. The manager and the mistake. A manager discovered a big error in a report. His first instinct was frustration. To call the team out. To demand explanations. But instead, he paused. He took a slow breath, reminded himself that mistakes happen, and approached the situation differently. He gathered the team and said, Let's see what went wrong, and how we can prevent it next time. The result: his team didn't hide their mistakes. They learned from them. The error became growth instead of blame. That one choice, to respond instead of react, built trust, not tension. Building the habit of response. Responding is a discipline, and like any discipline, it grows through practice. Here are a few simple ways to strengthen it. Slow the first thought. When a trigger hits, notice your first thought, then don't act on it. Often the second thought is wiser. Train the body. Reactions live in the body. Clenched fists, shallow breath, tight shoulders. When you feel them, relax consciously. Your body's calm helps your mind follow. Rehearse calm. Visualize common stressful scenarios, traffic, conflict, criticism, and imagine yourself responding with patience. This mental rehearsal trains the nervous system to stay composed in real life. Choose your response word. Before replying to someone, ask yourself, will these words make things better or worse? If worse, stay silent until you can speak wisely. These steps shift you from reactive energy to reflective energy, from emotional fire to inner flame. The emotional echo. Every reaction you release creates an echo. Angry words return as tension. Kind words return as peace. When you respond thoughtfully, your calm energy becomes contagious. People begin mirroring your steadiness instead of your stress. In families, workplaces and friendships, emotional maturity spreads through example. The person who learns to respond becomes the anchor for everyone else. Your calm doesn't just protect you. It protects the space you live in. The strength in restraint. Responding isn't weakness. It's strength under control. It's saying, I choose peace, even when chaos calls for me. Anyone can react. It takes character to respond. It takes awareness to stay steady when your emotions demand a fight. This doesn't mean you ignore injustice or silence truth. It means you deliver truth without rage, and correction without cruelty. Emotional restraint is not silence. It's power with purpose. A short reflection. Think of a moment this week when you reacted. Replay it in your mind. Now imagine yourself responding instead. Calm, clear, intentional. How different would the outcome have been? How much peace would you have kept? Every day gives you that chance again. To slow down, to see clearly, to respond. Closing thoughts. Learning to respond instead of react is one of life's greatest emotional disciplines. It's not about becoming detached from life. It's about being deeply connected to your choices. Reacting is easy. Responding is mastery. Reacting feeds the fire. Responding brings the light. When you choose to respond, you protect your energy, your peace and your power. You stop letting circumstances dictate your emotions and start leading them with wisdom. So the next time life throws you a spark, pause. Don't feed the fire. Light the lamp. Because calm, not chaos, is the ultimate response of strength. Chapter 9. The role of acceptance. There is a quiet strength that comes from accepting life as it is, not as you wish it to be. Acceptance is not surrender. It's not weakness or defeat. It's understanding reality without resistance. When you accept, you stop fighting battles that can't be won. You stop arguing with what already is. You trade frustration for focus, and bitterness for peace. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop growing. It means you stop suffering over things that can't be changed. This chapter is about that freedom. The peace that comes when you make peace with reality. The war against what is most emotional pain doesn't come from what happens. It comes from our refusal to accept that it happened. We replay moments, wishing they were different. We resist endings, wanting them to last longer. We fight circumstances that are already beyond our control. And every time we do, we create inner resistance, a friction between truth and expectation. That friction burns energy, time and peace. Acceptance ends the war with reality. It doesn't fix the past, but it heals the present. As the old saying goes, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Pain happens. Suffering continues when we resist what has already happened. What acceptance really means. Acceptance is not about liking what happened. It's about acknowledging it. It's the calm voice that says, "This is what is, and now I choose what's next." It's looking at life without denial, without complaint, without the need to rewrite the story. Acceptance doesn't remove emotion. It removes resistance. You can still grieve, still feel anger, still wish things were different, but underneath it all is a foundation of peace that says, "Even this I can handle." It's the difference between drowning in emotion and floating through it. The waves are still there, but you've stopped fighting them. Story: The Farmer's Fortune. An old story illustrates this beautifully. A farmer's horse ran away. His neighbor said, "What bad luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe." The next day the horse returned with 3 wild horses. The neighbor said, "What good luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe." Later, the farmer's son tried to tame one of the wild horses and broke his leg. The neighbor said, "What bad luck." The farmer again replied, "Maybe." A week later, soldiers came to the village to draft young men for war. Because of his broken leg, the son was spared. The neighbor said, "What good luck." And the farmer replied, "Maybe." The farmer's acceptance of life's uncertainty brought him peace. He understood what most people don't, that we rarely see the full picture in the moment. What feels like loss today may be protection tomorrow. What seems like failure might be preparation. Acceptance gives you that perspective, the ability to trust the process without needing to control the outcome. The resistance loop. When we resist reality, we trap ourselves in what's called the resistance loop. It looks like this: denial, anger, frustration, exhaustion, surrender. But acceptance allows you to skip the suffering. Instead of fighting reality until you're drained, you acknowledge it early and respond wisely. Imagine spilling water on your clothes. You could spend time blaming yourself, replaying the mistake, or you could accept it, clean it and move on. The situation is the same. The experience is different. Acceptance doesn't change facts. It changes your relationship with them. Acceptance in everyday life. Acceptance is a daily practice. It shows up in small moments. When you're stuck in traffic, when someone disappoints you, when plans fall apart. Here's how you can practice it. Notice your resistance. The first step is awareness. Catch yourself saying, "This shouldn't be happening." That phrase signals resistance. Breathe into the moment. Take one deep breath. Remind yourself, "This is what's happening right now. I can choose how to handle it." Separate facts from feelings. Ask what actually happened. Then ask, what story am I telling about it? Often our suffering comes from the story, not the event. Redirect your energy. Once you accept what is, focus on what's next. Shift your attention to what's within your control. Your attitude, your actions, your next step. Acceptance turns frustration into movement. It transforms emotional energy into purposeful action. Acceptance and growth. Acceptance doesn't mean standing still. It means starting from truth. You can't improve what you refuse to face. You can't heal what you deny exists. Acceptance clears the fog of denial, so growth can begin. It's like standing at the base of a mountain. You can't climb it if you keep insisting it shouldn't be there. When you accept life as it is, you stop wasting time wishing it were different, and start using your time to make it better. The power of enough. So much emotional chaos comes from the endless chase for more. More recognition, more certainty, more control. Acceptance invites a gentler truth. What I have right now is enough. Enough doesn't mean you stop striving. It means you stop suffering from comparison and impatience. It's gratitude in motion. The peace of knowing you're already whole, even as you grow. When you live from enough, life feels lighter. Every moment becomes a gift, not a test. A real example. The unplanned detour. A woman missed her flight to an important meeting. She was furious, until she later learned the plane had been grounded due to mechanical failure. In that moment she realized something powerful. Life often knows what we don't. What feels like a setback can be safety. What looks like delay can be divine timing. Acceptance allows you to trust those unseen details. You may not always understand the why, but you can still rest in the what is. Acceptance and forgiveness. True acceptance extends beyond situations, it includes people too. Accepting others doesn't mean approving of their behavior. It means releasing the emotional weight of trying to change them. You forgive, not to excuse them but to free yourself. You stop waiting for apologies that may never come. You stop hoping others will become who you wish they were. You let go, and in doing so you reclaim your energy. Forgiveness is emotional acceptance in motion. It's saying, this hurt me, but it no longer defines me. The calm beyond control. When you live with acceptance you discover a new kind of calm, the calm that doesn't depend on everything going right. You stop reacting to every inconvenience. You stop clinging to every plan. You begin to see life not as an enemy to conquer, but as a partner to understand. You realize that every event, pleasant or painful, is a teacher. Every change carries wisdom, and you start to trust that in the grand design things unfold not to you but for you. Closing thoughts. Acceptance is not giving up. It's growing up. It's the maturity to say, this is what life is showing me right now and I will meet it with grace. When you accept, you stop fighting reality and start cooperating with it. You release the need to control and rediscover your ability to choose. You can't always change the situation, but you can always choose peace within it. So take a deep breath. Let life be what it is, and let yourself be at ease within it. Because acceptance isn't the end of effort. It's the beginning of peace. Chapter 10. Emotional energy. Transforming pain into power. Pain is a universal experience. Everyone feels it. In loss, in disappointment, in rejection, in failure. But few people realize that pain is also one of the greatest sources of energy we possess. The difference between those who stay broken and those who rise stronger is not the absence of pain. It's what they do with it. Emotional energy, when directed with awareness, becomes power. It can fuel growth, deepen purpose, and strengthen character. But when left unmanaged, it can drain, destroy and control. In this chapter we'll explore how to transform your emotional pain into powerful momentum, not by avoiding it, but by understanding and channeling it. The energy behind emotion. Every emotion is energy in motion. Anger, sadness, fear, excitement, they all carry power. The question is whether that power is used consciously or wasted unconsciously. Think of emotion as fire. Left unattended, it burns the house down. Controlled, it gives warmth, light and life. Your emotional energy works the same way. When pain hits, you have two choices. Let it consume you or convert it into strength. Most people react to emotional pain by suppressing it or exploding with it. They either bury it deep or throw it outward. But both paths waste energy. The key is to redirect it. The turning point. Transformation begins with awareness. When something hurts, the natural instinct is to resist it. You say, "I shouldn't feel this way." You distract yourself, numb yourself, or blame someone else. But pain that's avoided doesn't disappear. It hides and festers. The first step in transformation is to face the feeling fully, to pause and say, "Yes, I'm hurt. Yes, this is painful." Naming it is reclaiming it. Once you acknowledge pain without judgment, you take back control. You move from being a victim of emotion to being the master of it. Story: the athlete who found strength in defeat. A young runner trained for years to win a national competition, but on race day he stumbled near the finish line and lost his chance at victory. He was crushed. For weeks he replayed the moment, trapped in self-blame. One day his coach said, "Use the pain. Don't waste it. Let it teach you, not trap you." The runner began training again, not from pride but from purpose. Every early morning, every hard practice became a way to channel his disappointment. The next year, he returned stronger and faster, and won. When asked what changed, he said, "I stopped running from the pain and started running with it." That's the shift. Pain, when directed, becomes propulsion. The 3 stages of emotional transformation. Recognition, feeling it fully. Stop running. Sit with your emotion. Ask, what is this feeling trying to tell me? Pain is a signal. It points to a need, a boundary, or a belief that must be addressed. Redirection, using it purposefully. Once you understand it, use the energy. Channel anger into action. Channel grief into gratitude. Channel fear into focus. Reconstruction, building something new. Let the lesson shape you. Every emotional wound contains wisdom. Build new strength from it. Don't waste your suffering. Make it meaningful. Pain is not here to destroy you. It's here to develop you. The hidden power in negative emotions. Anger shows where your values have been crossed. Fear shows where courage must grow. Sadness shows what truly matters to you. Frustration shows where you need patience and perspective. When you stop labeling emotions as bad and start listening to them, they become allies instead of enemies. Your emotions are not obstacles. They are information. They tell you what needs attention, healing, or change. Once you learn to read them, you stop fearing them. And once you stop fearing them, you start mastering them. Transforming pain through purpose. Pain without purpose leads to suffering. Pain with purpose leads to strength. When you connect your pain to a purpose greater than the pain itself, transformation happens. Think of people who have turned tragedy into service, who lost loved ones and built foundations, who failed publicly but used their stories to inspire others. Their circumstances didn't change, their perspective did. Purpose converts emotional energy into power. It gives pain direction. Ask yourself, what can this pain teach me? What can I create because of it? Who can I help because I understand it? When pain finds meaning, it stops being heavy. It starts being holy. The role of movement. Emotion needs motion. When energy builds up inside, and you don't release it, it turns into anxiety, tension, or exhaustion. That's why physical movement, expression, and creation are essential for emotional health. Take a walk, write, paint, speak, build something, breathe deeply, move the energy through you instead of letting it trap you. You can't think your way out of every feeling. Sometimes you must move your way through it. Real example, turning anger into action. A woman was deeply frustrated with her work environment. Instead of quitting impulsively or suppressing her anger, she used it as motivation to start her own business, one that aligned with her values. Her anger was not wasted. It became fuel. Emotions are energy waiting for direction. When you use them as guidance rather than punishment, you unlock immense creative power, protecting your energy. Not every battle deserves your energy. Once you learn to channel emotion, you must also learn to protect it. Ask yourself, is this worth my emotional investment? Will this matter a month from now? Am I giving my energy to growth or to drama? You are responsible for where your energy flows, and energy, once given away carelessly, is hard to reclaim. Protect your peace by being selective with what and who you respond to. That's not selfish, that's survival for the mind. Reflection exercise. Rewriting the pain. Think of something that hurt you deeply. A loss, a failure, a betrayal. Now instead of asking why did this happen to me, ask, how did this shape me? What did it teach you about strength, patience, compassion, or resilience? Write it down. When you do, you'll see that pain didn't just happen to you, it happened for you. It was a teacher, not a thief. The energy of renewal. When you transform pain, you create renewal. You discover a deeper confidence, not the fragile kind that depends on success, but the kind built from survival. You begin to trust yourself again. You realize, if I can get through that, I can get through anything. That realization is emotional energy, at its highest form, power born from peace, courage born from pain. You stop fearing challenges, because you've learned that even when they hurt, they build you. Closing thoughts. Emotional energy is the raw material of growth. It's life's most powerful fuel, neutral until you give it direction. Pain is not your enemy. It's your reminder that you're alive, that you care, that you're capable of transformation. So the next time life wounds you, don't suppress it, don't waste it. Breathe, feel, learn, then move. Turn your hurt into hunger, turn your fear into focus, turn your pain into power, because every emotion you master becomes strength you carry. And when you learn to use emotional energy wisely, you stop breaking under pressure. You start rising because of it. Chapter 11. Boundaries and emotional space. Peace is not only found in calm places, it's protected by clear boundaries. Without them, even the strongest mind becomes drained, distracted and overwhelmed. Boundaries are not walls to shut people out. They are doors that allow peace to stay in. They define where your responsibility ends and another's begins. When you learn to set them with calm confidence, you protect your emotional energy and create space for clarity, focus, and self-respect. This chapter is about understanding that saying no doesn't make you selfish, it makes you sane. It's about reclaiming your space, your time, and your peace without guilt. The purpose of boundaries. Boundaries are emotional guidelines, invisible lines that define what is acceptable and what is not. They tell others how to treat you, and more importantly, they teach you how to treat yourself. Without boundaries, you absorb everyone's emotions. You say yes when your heart says no. You carry weight that was never yours to hold. Soon, resentment builds, and peace disappears. Boundaries are not about control. They are about protection. protecting your energy, your priorities, and your mental clarity. Think of them as fences around a garden. You're not keeping people out. You're keeping the soil of your peace fertile and free from weeds. The cost of boundarylessness. Living without boundaries is like leaving your door open to every passing emotion. If someone's upset, you absorb their tension. If someone needs something, you drop everything. If someone crosses a line, you stay silent to keep the peace while losing your own. But silence often invites disrespect, and over time the cost is high. Burnout, exhaustion, frustration, and loss of self. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot stay calm when your energy is constantly being drained. Boundaries are not barriers. They are the balance between giving and protecting. A story. The counselor who learned to pause. A young counselor loved helping people. Her days were filled with clients, messages, and emotional stories. But by evening, she felt heavy and depleted. She couldn't separate her clients' pain from her own peace. One day her mentor said, "You're not responsible for everyone's healing. You're responsible for protecting the space where healing can happen." That simple truth changed everything. She began setting clear working hours. She stopped checking messages late at night. She practiced emotional detachment, caring deeply, but not personally absorbing the pain. Within weeks her calm returned, her focus sharpened, and her empathy deepened, because her boundaries restored her balance. Recognizing. When boundaries are needed, boundaries are most needed when you feel drained after interactions. You feel guilty for saying no. You feel responsible for other people's happiness. You find yourself constantly explaining or defending your decisions. These are signs that your emotional space is being invaded, sometimes by others, sometimes by your own habits of overgiving. Awareness is the first act of protection. When you start noticing these signs, it's time to draw your lines. How to set boundaries with calm strength. Setting boundaries doesn't have to be harsh or defensive. It can be done with grace and firmness. Here's how. Get clear on your limits. Before you communicate boundaries, you must know them yourself. Ask what drains me, what restores me. Your answers reveal where boundaries belong. Communicate directly and kindly. Use simple, calm statements. "I'm not available for that right now. I'd love to help, but I need to focus on this first. I'm not comfortable with that tone." Firm words don't require explanation. Respect begins where over-explaining ends. Be consistent. A boundary that changes daily isn't a boundary, it's a suggestion. Stand by your limits with quiet confidence. Consistency builds respect. Release the guilt. Many people fear that boundaries make them selfish. In truth, they make you sustainable. Guilt fades when you realize you're not rejecting others, you're respecting yourself. Enforce without emotion. You don't have to argue or justify. Boundaries are enforced through action, not debate. When someone crosses a line, step back with calm, not chaos. Boundaries are the language of self-respect. When you speak them clearly, the right people understand, and the wrong ones reveal themselves. Emotional space and stillness. Boundaries create space, and space creates stillness. Emotional space is the distance you maintain between your inner world and external noise. It's the ability to stay calm, even when others are not. You can love someone, and still not take on their anxiety. You can help others without losing your own focus. You can be kind without becoming a doormat. This space is sacred. It's where reflection, creativity, and peace grow. Without it you become reactive. With it you stay responsive and strong. The energy exchange. Every relationship is an exchange of energy, giving and receiving. When the exchange is balanced, Both people feel valued. But when one gives endlessly, and the other only takes, imbalance begins. That imbalance is often invisible, until exhaustion sets in. You may find yourself saying, "I'm fine," while your emotions quietly burn out. Creating boundaries restores equality to that exchange. It allows love to flow freely, not forced, not drained, but mutual. Remember, healthy people respect boundaries. The ones who don't are the ones who benefited from your lack of them. Boundaries with yourself. The hardest boundaries to set are not with others, they're with yourself. You must protect your peace from your own habits. Overthinking, overworking, overcommitting, overpleasing. Discipline is self-respect in action. Saying no to distractions, unhealthy routines, or unnecessary stress is an act of inner strength. Set limits on what you consume, news, social media, or conversations that drain your peace. Protect your mornings, your focus, your rest. These are not luxuries. They are lifelines for your emotional health. Real example: the entrepreneur who found peace. An entrepreneur once worked 16 hours a day, believing that success required constant hustle. But his health began to crumble. His relationships suffered. Finally, he realized he wasn't building a business. He was breaking himself. He decided to set new boundaries. No work after 7 p.m., no emails during weekends, and daily time for exercise and reflection. The productivity increased. His creativity returned. His mind became sharper, not slower. Boundaries didn't limit him. They liberated him. Action steps: building emotional space. Audit your energy. Track who and what leaves you drained. Those areas require stronger boundaries. Protect your pause. Schedule quiet moments each day, even 10 minutes of solitude. That silence is where balance returns. Declutter your commitments. Say no to what doesn't align with your priorities. Every unnecessary yes steals from what truly matters. Choose your circle wisely. Surround yourself with people who respect your boundaries and encourage your peace. Your environment shapes your emotions. Rest without guilt. Rest is not laziness. It's maintenance. Your emotional battery needs recharging just as much as your phone does. Closing thoughts. Boundaries are not barriers. They're bridges to peace. They separate chaos from clarity, exhaustion from renewal, reaction from control. When you learn to protect your emotional space, you stop living at the mercy of others' moods. You stop absorbing every storm. You begin living from strength, not survival. You start realizing that true calm isn't found, it's built. It's built through choices that honor your well-being, through limits that guard your peace, and through courage that says, "I matter too." So, hold your space, speak your limits, protect your energy, because peace is not just something you seek, it's something you defend. Chapter 12. The Calm Mind in Chaos. Life doesn't always give you quiet days. Sometimes it gives you storms, moments when nothing seems to make sense, when plans collapse, people change, and everything you thought was certain starts to shift. In those moments, one truth defines your strength. Peace is not found in the absence of chaos. It's found in the presence of calm. A calm mind is not something you're born with. It's something you build. It's a discipline. A quiet confidence that stays steady, even when the world around you shakes. This chapter is about how to cultivate that inner stillness, not by escaping the noise, but by learning to stand strong in it. The nature of chaos. Chaos comes in many forms: a sudden loss, a financial setback, a relationship that falls apart, a future that feels uncertain. Chaos isn't just around you. It can also live within you. The racing thoughts, the endless what-ifs, the tightness in your chest, the sense that you're losing control. But here's the truth. Chaos itself doesn't break you. It's your response to chaos that determines whether you crumble or grow. When life is loud, calm becomes your power. Why calm matters? Calm doesn't make problems disappear. It makes solutions visible. A calm mind can see options that a frantic mind cannot. A calm mind listens. It observes. It waits for the right move instead of rushing into the wrong one. When you're calm, you don't shrink. You think. You step back, breathe, and act from wisdom instead of emotion. That's why calm isn't passive. It's strategic. It's not doing nothing. It's doing the right thing from the right state of mind. The inner anchor. Imagine a ship in a storm. The waves crash. The wind howls. But the ship stays steady. Not because the storm stops, but because the anchor holds. Your mind works the same way. Without an anchor, every wave of emotion tosses you around. But with one, a centered focus, a grounded belief, a steady breath, you can endure anything. That anchor is built through habits, daily reflection, intentional breathing, practicing gratitude, focusing on what you can control, not what you can't. The stronger your anchor, the calmer your mind. No matter how violent the storm. Story. The pilot in the storm. A commercial pilot once shared how he keeps his composure during severe turbulence. The key, he said, is to trust the instruments. When visibility is low, and everything outside is shaking, I don't rely on what I feel. I rely on what I know. That's emotional control in action. When chaos clouds your vision, your feelings may not be reliable. Fear exaggerates danger. But truth, your internal compass, remains steady. When everything around you is uncertain, lean on what you know, your values, your experience, your ability to adapt. Those are your instruments. They'll guide you through the storm when your emotions can't. Calm is a trained response. No one becomes calm by accident. Calm is a practiced habit. It's built through repetition. Every time you face a stressful moment and choose patience over panic, you strengthen it. Here's how to begin training that calm. Pause first always. When chaos hits, stop before reacting. One deep breath creates distance between the problem and your response. Name what's real. Ask what's actually happening right now. Most panic comes from imagination, not reality. Clarity dissolves fear. Control the controllables. Focus only on what's within your reach. Your thoughts, your words, your effort. Let the rest go. Ground in the present. When your mind runs to the future, bring it back to now. Say quietly, I'm here. I'm breathing. I'm okay. These small actions, practiced daily, become your calm reflex. Your automatic response when chaos comes knocking. The strength of stillness. Stillness is not the absence of motion. It's the mastery of it. It's knowing when to move and when to wait. Some of the greatest breakthroughs come after moments of quiet. In stillness, you regain your ability to see clearly. You hear your intuition again. You find wisdom in the silence between your thoughts. In a world that rewards speed, stillness feels countercultural. But the calm mind doesn't rush. It refines. It understands that progress made in peace lasts longer than progress made in panic. Real-world example. The leader who stayed steady. During a company crisis, employees looked to their CEO for answers. The markets were falling, deadlines were collapsing, and fear filled the room. But instead of reacting, the CEO spoke slowly. "Let's breathe," she said. "Let's get the facts before we make a move." Her calmness didn't solve the crisis instantly, but it stabilized the team. Her steadiness became contagious. Others began thinking clearly. Again, decisions improved. Progress returned. That's the hidden power of calm. It doesn't just protect you, it influences everyone around you. The art of emotional distance. In chaos, emotions try to pull you in, but you can learn to observe them without being ruled by them. Imagine sitting in a theater, watching your thoughts play out on a screen. You don't have to jump into every scene. You just watch. You breathe. You learn. That's emotional distance. Awareness, without absorption. It allows you to feel deeply without losing yourself. When you master this, you'll realize that peace was never lost. It was just buried beneath reaction. Techniques for maintaining calm in chaos. Mindful breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. This resets your nervous system and brings you back to center. Create a calm environment. Keep your physical space organized and quiet. The state of your surroundings often mirrors the state of your mind. Use affirmations of control. Repeat phrases like, "I am calm under pressure. This moment is temporary. I choose peace over panic." Simplify decisions. In chaos, too many choices create confusion. Break decisions down into small actionable steps. Disconnect and regroup. Step outside. Stretch. Take a walk or meditate. Even 5 minutes away from noise can reset your mental clarity. These aren't just coping mechanisms. They're recalibration tools. They remind your nervous system that you are safe, steady, and in control of yourself. The ripple effect of calm. Calm spreads. When you hold it, others feel it. Your presence becomes a grounding force. At home, at work, in relationships. You can't control the chaos of the world, but you can be the person who doesn't add to it. When others rush, you slow down. When they shout, you listen. When they panic, you breathe. You become the example. Proof that peace is possible, even here, even now. A reflection. Finding stillness inside the storm. Take a moment to recall a recent situation that tested your patience or composure. Ask yourself, how did I react? What could I have done differently? What would calmness have changed? Now imagine yourself in that same scene again, but this time, grounded, steady, breathing. The situation may not change, but you do, and that changes everything. Closing thoughts. The calm mind is not fragile. It's forged. It's built through storms, not sunny days. Each time you remain centered in chaos, you strengthen the muscle of composure. You begin to see that calm is not something you wait for. It's something you create. When life gets loud, silence becomes your strategy. When others lose control, you find yours. And when chaos demands your reaction, you give it your stillness. Because in the end, calm is not weakness. It's wisdom in action. Chapter 13. Reflection. Learning from emotional tests. Every emotional experience, the good, the painful, the confusing, carries a lesson. But lessons are not revealed in the moment of chaos. They are discovered in the quiet that follows. That quiet moment is called reflection. Reflection is the practice of stepping back after the storm, not to relive it, but to learn from it. It turns experience into wisdom, pain into perspective, and struggle into strength. In this chapter, we'll explore how reflection transforms emotional challenges into opportunities for growth, how to look back not with regret, but with clarity, understanding, and peace. Why reflection matters. Most people go through emotional experiences without ever processing them. They move from one situation to another, hurt, react, move on, without pausing to ask why they felt what they felt, or what the moment was trying to teach them. When you skip reflection, you repeat patterns. When you practice reflection, you rewrite them. Reflection doesn't erase the past, it redeems it. It's the moment where meaning replaces pain, and self-awareness replaces self-blame. Without reflection, emotions become repetitive lessons. With reflection, they become stepping stones. The mirror of the mind. Think of reflection as holding up a mirror, not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself. When you look into that mirror, you're not asking, what went wrong? You're asking, what was this moment showing me about me? Reflection is honest but compassionate. It doesn't scold. It teaches. It asks questions that open the door to growth. What triggered me? What did I learn about my boundaries? How did I handle my emotions? What could I do differently next time? The answers to these questions become emotional wisdom, lessons you carry forward into calmer, wiser living. Story: The Teacher and the Candle. A teacher once gave her student a candle and said, "This candle is like your mind. When it burns too fast, it burns out early. When it burns too low, it loses light. The secret is in watching the flame." The student asked, "How do I watch my flame?" The teacher replied, "By reflecting every evening. Notice what fueled your fire today, and what dimmed it. That's how you keep your light steady." The story is simple, but profound. Reflection helps you watch your own flame, your energy, your emotions, your reactions. It teaches you what to nurture, and what to release. Through reflection, you become your own teacher. Reflection turns emotion into insight. Every emotional test you've faced has two layers: the event itself, and the meaning you attach to it. Reflection helps you separate the two. For example, you didn't fail because you're incapable. You failed because you were learning. You weren't rejected because you're unworthy. You were redirected toward alignment. You didn't lose control because you're weak. You lost it because you were unaware, and now you know better. Reflection reframes emotion. It turns judgment into understanding, and that understanding becomes growth. The process of reflecting. Here's a simple, structured way to reflect after emotional challenges. Pause and revisit. Find a quiet space. Close your eyes and replay the moment without judgment. Observe what happened as if you were watching a movie. Name what you felt. Identify the emotions involved: anger, sadness, fear, disappointment or relief. Naming the emotion helps you see it clearly. Identify the trigger. Ask yourself, what part of me reacted? Was it ego, insecurity, fear of loss? Understanding the root makes you wiser for the next time. Extract the lesson. Ask, what was this trying to teach me? Every emotional test contains insight, patience, humility, self-respect or compassion. Reframe and release. Write down the lesson and consciously let go of the emotional residue. You can't carry growth and grudges in the same heart. Reflection transforms emotion into education. It takes what once hurt you and turns it into something that heals you. A real example: the friendship that ended. A man lost a close friend after a painful misunderstanding. For months he replayed the argument in his mind, each time feeling anger and regret. One night he decided to reflect differently. Instead of focusing on what the friend did wrong, he asked, what did this situation show me about myself? He realized he avoided difficult conversations out of fear of conflict. That fear allowed resentment to build until it broke the friendship. The insight didn't erase the pain, but it gave him wisdom. The next time conflict arose, he faced it early and calmly. Reflection didn't change the past, but it shaped his future. Reflection requires honesty and patience. Honest reflection can be uncomfortable. It asks you to confront parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. Your pride, your fears, your emotional habits. But discomfort is the doorway to growth. Be patient with yourself. Emotional lessons unfold in layers. What you understand today might deepen months later. Growth is not instant. It's gradual clarity. So don't rush reflection. Let it reveal its truths in time. Tools for reflective growth. Here are a few simple tools to help you build a daily or weekly reflection habit. Journaling. At the end of each day, write one emotional moment and what you learned from it. Even 2 sentences can bring awareness. The 3 questions practice. Ask yourself, what moved me today? What drained me today? What strengthened me today? Over time, patterns will appear, and those patterns reveal your emotional blueprint. Silent review. Before bed, close your eyes and mentally walk through your day. Observe your emotions like waves, rising, falling and settling. End with gratitude for what the day taught you. Mentorship or conversation. Sometimes reflection needs dialogue. Share your insights with a trusted friend or mentor. Speaking your thoughts aloud often brings clarity. Reflection and emotional maturity. Emotional maturity isn't about never getting angry, sad or frustrated. It's about recognizing those emotions, reflecting on them and learning from them. Reflection helps you evolve from reaction to wisdom. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What did this awaken in me?" That shift turns pain into power and problems into progress. The gift of emotional tests. Your hardest moments often become your greatest teachers. They show you what you're made of. They reveal hidden strength. They sharpen your patience and deepen your compassion. But those gifts only appear if you pause to look for them. Without reflection, pain remains pain. With reflection, pain becomes purpose. As Jim Rohn once said, "Don't just go through life, grow through life." Reflection is how you grow through it. A moment of reflection. Take a deep breath. Think of a recent emotional test, something that stretched or challenged you. Now ask yourself, what did I learn about my limits? What did I learn about my resilience? What will I do differently next time? As you reflect, notice something powerful. The pain that once overwhelmed you now teaches you. That's growth. That's evolution. Closing thoughts. Reflection is the bridge between experience and wisdom. It's how you turn emotional survival into emotional mastery. The calm mind doesn't come from avoiding storms. It comes from learning after each one. Reflection gives you that calm, the quiet knowing that every challenge carried something for you, not against you. So take time to pause, to look back, to see clearly, because every emotional test once reflected upon becomes a step toward peace, patience and purpose. Conclusion. Peace is power. At the end of every storm, there is silence. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of clarity. The quiet strength that says, "I made it through." That is peace. And peace is power. Throughout this journey, you've discovered that emotional control isn't about never feeling. It's about never being ruled by what you feel. It's the art of staying steady when life pulls you in every direction. The ability to respond with wisdom when the world demands reaction. Peace is not weakness. It's mastery. It's the calm that comes when you finally realize you don't need to control everything, only yourself. The evolution of calm. In the beginning, emotional control feels like effort. Breathing through tension, holding back words, pausing before reacting. But with time it becomes who you are. The storm doesn't disappear. You just stop being afraid of it. The chaos doesn't end. You just stop letting it own you. You stop chasing calm and start embodying it. That is the transformation from reaction to reflection, from control to composure, from turmoil to peace. A peaceful mind is not an escape from life. It's a way of walking through life, awake, aware, and unshaken. The strength of stillness. In a world addicted to noise and urgency, calm is rebellion. When everyone rushes to speak, you listen. When others fight to be right, you choose to understand. When fear spreads quickly, you hold steady. That stillness is not passive. It's powerful. It's the strength to choose patience over pride, clarity over chaos, wisdom over worry. True peace doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. It simply is. What you've built. You've learned to see emotions before they control you, to pause between stimulus and response, to breathe and find presence, to let go without giving up, to discipline your thoughts, to respond with intention, to accept life as it is, to transform pain into power, to protect your peace through boundaries, to remain calm in chaos, and to reflect, learning from every emotional test. Each lesson has built a layer of strength, quiet, invisible, unshakable. Peace is not found overnight. It's built through 1,000 small choices. One pause, one breath, one act of restraint, one moment of awareness. Every time you choose peace over panic, you reclaim power. The quiet reward. When you master emotional control, life doesn't get easier. You get stronger. You begin to notice beauty where others see problems. You find opportunity where others see obstacles. You feel grounded, not because life is perfect, but because you've become unbreakable within it. The calm mind becomes your compass. The peaceful heart becomes your home. And suddenly external chaos no longer has the authority to disturb your internal world. The ripple of peace. Your peace doesn't end with you, it spreads. When you remain calm, others feel safer. When you speak with grace, others soften. When you lead with clarity, others follow with trust. Your energy teaches more than your words ever could. Be the calm presence in the stormy room. Be the person whose silence heals more than another's noise. Be the reminder that peace is still possible, even here, even now, because every act of composure creates a ripple that reaches further than you'll ever see. The final thought. Peace is not the reward at the end of the journey. It is the journey. Every test, every challenge, every emotional wave you've faced has been preparing you. Not to escape life, but to engage it with strength, grace and serenity. When you master your emotions, you no longer live at the mercy of circumstances. You live from the strength of your center. You understand that no matter what happens around you, what happens within you is what truly defines your life. So walk forward with calm in your mind, courage in your heart, and peace in your soul. Because when everything falls apart, peace is what holds you together. And when the noise fades and the storm passes, you'll discover what was true all along. Peace is power.